Hello, my name is Professor Angela Daly, and I work here at the Chinese University of Hong Kong Faculty of Law. In this short video on internet law, I'm going to talk about free speech, content moderation, and the law. I will give an introduction to where free speech protections can be found before outlining the development of the internet and free speech. Then I will talk about content moderation and other major issues and clashes involving free speech online. So what is free speech and where do we find it? The right to freedom of speech or freedom of expression is a core freedom in international human rights law. We can find it in Article 19 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, or ICCPR. Free speech and expression is also found in national constitutions and bills of rights. For instance, the First Amendment to the US Constitution. Here in Hong Kong, Article 27 of the Basic Law and Article 16 of the Bill of Rights Ordinance protect free speech. So, in the 1990s, when the internet was first becoming publicly available, it seemed that the internet offered the general public a great opportunity to speak freely and express themselves. The internet was very different to previous communications technologies, such as the telephone or print media, in that it facilitated cheap, many-to-many communication. The US had a very important position in the early internet, since the internet was originally a US project. This extended to how free speech was protected and viewed online. The US First Amendment, which offers very strong protection for free speech, was very important to debate and discussion in those early days. The First Amendment also, controversially, recognises corporations as potential speakers who can enjoy First Amendment protections. So not only do normal people using the internet benefit from free speech, but also, in the US, so do the corporations which provide internet services. Furthermore, we can see how the influence of the First Amendment and how intermediary liability schemes were created, especially Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act in the US. But the US approach to free speech online soon encountered problems with the internationalization of the internet. The early case of Yahoo France shows this clash of civilizations between the American and European approaches to free speech. The case involved Yahoo linking to sites auctioning Nazi memorabilia. A domestic law in France prohibits the sale or display of items such as these which incite racial hatred. Yahoo was sued in French courts for breaching this law. The French courts held against Yahoo and ordered Yahoo to remove links from its French site. Litigation also followed in the US regarding the enforcement of this French decision. In the end, Yahoo decided to remove links to such auction sites from all of its search results worldwide. Another wave of excitement and optimism about free speech accompanied the development of Web 2.0 in the 2000s. This stage involved peer-to-peer services and user-generated content becoming prevalent. It allowed people without much technical or programming knowledge to create and contribute online content, and saw the emergence of social media sites such as Facebook. Internet use also expanded to the whole world and became much more prevalent and accessible to ordinary people, aided by the development of smartphones. We see discussion of the internet as a liberation technology then, and seeing its realization in the social media-fueled political revolutions in the Middle East and North Africa, which became known as the Arab Spring. However, developments since then have dampened enthusiasm that the internet does and should facilitate unfettered free speech. We have seen success with which countries such as China has built its Great Firewall and domestic internet ecosystem to rival that of the West, but with significant censorship. We also see the importance of privacy and data protection emerge, which can limit free speech and expression, although privacy can also work with free speech online, such as in the case of encryption. We also see the pivotal role of online platforms to moderate speech in the online environment, which I turn to next. So, content regulation on platforms. Online platforms such as social media sites are where many of us express ourselves and communicate online. These platforms can be very large and more powerful than some countries. it is important to look at how they govern their platforms, as well as what the law of the land says about free speech and illegal content, because of the size and importance of these services. We can find more information about platforms' rules in their terms of service and some more specific content moderation guidelines, such as Facebook's community standards. Platforms may also moderate content when they receive requests from users about content that is alleged to be illegal. According to Tarleton Gillespie, most platforms have rules prohibiting or limiting content which is sexual content and pornography, representations of violence and obscenity, the harassment of other users, hate speech, representations or promotion of self-harm, and representations or promotion of illegal activity, particularly drug use. There are lots of issues, though, with false positives, which are situations when content is removed but it is actually legitimate or compliant with the platform's rules. Now I will talk about some other major issues or clashes involving free speech online. We are seeing a lot of internet shutdowns happening at the moment, especially in African countries such as Cameroon and also in parts of India. This involves internet access being cut off in a particular area, or access to some services such as WhatsApp. Another measure we see being used is filtering and blocking certain services and content. Some countries, such as the UK and Australia, permit this for sites and services which facilitate copyright infringement. Net neutrality is another issue for free speech online. Net neutrality is the idea that internet service providers treat all traffic equally and do not discriminate by blocking, speeding up, slowing down data travelling from one user to another. Some countries have laws which implement this principle, such as India and the European Union, which have strong protections of net neutrality. India also includes zero rating as a form of net neutrality violation. Use of the internet to spread hate speech, terrorist content and harassment is another serious problem which many jurisdictions and platforms are trying to deal with. Here in Hong Kong, there is an ongoing case about racist hate speech being left on the Facebook page of a local NGO. The Equal Opportunities Commission has asked Facebook to provide data about the users who made the offending comments, but Facebook has so far refused to do so without following a court procedure in Ireland where the data was stored. We will see what happens with this case. Finally, fake news and how to deal with it also creates implications for free expression. Singapore is currently proposing a law which would combat fake news, but some people are worried that it may have a negative impact on free speech. So, in conclusion, free speech online, especially through platforms' content moderation, is an enormous issue in internet law. Like the collection and use of data and associated concerns regarding data protection and privacy, free speech and content moderation underlies a lot of the cases and tensions that have arisen over the past 20 years for internet law and policy. We also find here issues of jurisdiction and transnational platforms adhering to different countries' laws as a major component of the problem. With ongoing battles over fake news, pressure from old media, escalating problems with online hate speech and harassment, questions of free speech online look unlikely to be fixed anytime soon.